Hey, Anand.
What's going on?
Welcome to group chat. It's just the two of us.
It's a little gloomy out there.
It's a little gloomy out there, man, and we got to talk about it. I think everyone's feeling, the gloom.
It's actually sunny. We're not talking about the weather.
Beautiful. The weather's beautiful. But that's not what we're talking about. Stock portfolios are having a rough time. Prices are up. And you can't even go to a comedy show anymore.
Nope.
It's not even safe to be a comedian performing for a crowd, really, at this point.
Maybe we need to go back into lockdowns.
Let's lock it down. You know what? The lockdown stimmy combo wasn't so bad.
It's kind of fun.
Let's get day trading up again. Let's just hand everyone money, keep them home. That wasn't so bad.
Yep.
Who would have thought we'd be saying that? We're supposed to be in the, this is supposed to be like the time of our lives.
Yeah.
Like meaning vaccines here, COVID's over, everything's ripping. And here we are asking to put us back on stimmy. Anyway, listen, we don't want to be too depressed. We got a fun episode.
Yep.
We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot of news. We're going to talk about our boy Elon and the ongoing, I don't even know what to call it at this point. I mean, the guy, I think you said it on, and he's very sure that we might be living in a simulation, and whether we are or not, he definitely lives like he is.
100%.
So we're going to talk about that. We got a lot of news to talk about. We're going to talk about our boy Drake, the pod's favorite artist. Big news. You ready?
Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey, Anand.
What's going on?
Just the two of us.
Just
It's been a while
painting red.
since we've done one of these.
Just painting red. Red, red, red.
It's red everywhere, man. What's going on?
And this isn't
Everything's
gang
red.
related. This isn't
No.
YG.
There's no blood. Well, there's probably blood. Blood in the streets. Everything's red. Crypto's red. Stock market is as red as it gets. It keeps teasing us. Like yesterday, this is what I don't get. And maybe you can give us all a lesson. Yesterday, the Fed announced a new rate hike.
Mm-hmm.
And the stock market shot up. And
Yep.
the story was, okay, that rate hike was already priced in. Everyone was kind of felt good that the rate hike was what they thought it was. We're back. We're all good. We're up. Everything's green, 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 green. Then today I wake up, red, red, red. Lost all that and more. What's the point? Like, why does it shoot up? You know what I mean? Like, what are we doing here? Why are we getting people's hopes up?
So since 1980, they've only been 2 days where you've had the stock market go up 5% and down 5% in consecutive days. So the 2 days, that's where we're talking 42 years. And we've had 2 days that represent what just happened in the last 48 hours. One was in 2008 during the financial crisis. The next was March 2020. So the volatility is absolutely unprecedented. And I watched CNBC and Bloomberg for like hours this morning. Yeah. And it's just depressing.
But, I was going to say, how's your mental health?
Yeah, it's worse than TikTok. Let me tell you.
It is.
People complain about TikTok. CNBC, Bloomberg is like poison to me. But
way worse.
Definitely worse. But the point, let me just explain what the Fed did and why the market ripped, and then where we are today, and then we could talk about kind of everything else. So what the Fed did yesterday, the market was down pretty big leading into Jerome Powell, the chairman of the Federal Reserve's speech. So they announced at like 11 a.m., 50 basis points, ongoing interest rate hikes, blah, blah, blah. Market was tanking. And everyone was just like, is the Fed going to get more hawkish? Are they going to get more spooked on inflation? Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So he started speaking and he said a bunch of things like inflation's here, Americans are hurting, labor market's tight. That's actually, I want to talk about labor market later, but inflation's here. It's too high. we need to use every tool to basically tame it. So he confirmed the 50 basis point hike. And then the reason the market ripped, everyone's pricing in more 50 basis point hikes in like the next 4 meetings and basically get to like 2% interest rate. I think we're at between the two, like 75 basis points now. And when he said, I'm taking 75 basis points off the table, the market just ripped. That was the one line. That's it. Yeah. Everything he said about inflation, etc., all people wanted to hear is that they're not going to be more aggressive in interest rate hikes than anticipated. Everyone knows rates are going up, but that one line, 75 basis points, is off the table. The party's back. And the party was back for a good hour and 20 minutes.
Literally. Literally. So what happened this morning then?
It's like, what was that movie where they threw parties at the house and like the cops
Project
would
X.
come and Project X, like the cops came, everyone got scared and like they hid and whatever. As soon as the cops left, they put the party back on and everyone was having a blast.
But then what happened this morning? The cops showed up, the feds showed up, like
they literally
just fell off a cliff.
Today I think was surprising to everyone.
Okay.
And I don't know, because when the markets are this volatile, it's not retail traders, it's not your Robin Hooders, it's not people like me and you, it's mutual funds and like massive institutions, right? It's Fidelity, BlackRock, endowment funds, and like people that have hundreds of billions of dollars in the market, if not trillions. So they sold today. So I don't know what made them buy yesterday for an hour and sell everything today for. So we're at lower lows than pre-Fed announcing what everyone was kind of excited about.
Yeah, I don't get it. I wonder if like they thought, my only idea was they thought, okay, well, shit's still going to get worse. And this little bump might be the best we have for a while. So let's sell off at this bump. Because we're far from out of it. Obviously I'm just completely making up a story, but like that's the only thing that it just doesn't make any sense to me at all. Yeah,
I think, when you have this much volatility, it's like the biggest funds in the world decided to sell everything. But here's what I don't get. Bonds are down big.
Yeah.
Stock market's down big. Crypto's not flowing into crypto. What are people doing? They're just in cash. That's the only explanation.
I want to know too, because cash isn't good either.
Cash isn't good. You have inflation, so like you're buying less with what you have. So I mean, I think everyone's kind of perplexed. I don't think anyone was expecting like, oh, we're back in the bull market, but no one has any sense of where the bottom is, and it's so funny how like the same analysts on CNBC and Bloomberg that they bring on, not the host, the analysts, like, oh, the Jefferies Bank senior technology analyst. Now they're like, of course, multiples have to come down. But where were you 5 months ago?
Yeah, no idea. I mean, those guys, that's what they do for a living, right? It's like Monday morning quarterback.
Yeah. It's now we're approaching .com level correction, or we are at .com level corrections, 2008 correction for growth tech.
Yeah.
And, the big difference is those companies were actually insolvent, the ones in the .com era. Like the business models didn't work.
Yeah.
These growth companies, the businesses work. It's just what multiple and valuation people want to give it. And I think they're just like, okay, prove it to us in earnings. And I mean, if you have a long-term view, there's a lot of cheap shit out there. There's a lot of cheap stocks. And even if you leg down another 20%, 30%, if you don't believe technology is the future, then you're pricing that these companies are going to zero.
Yeah. What's an example of a company that, I know not stock advice, but like, what's an example of a company that you think is getting creamed right now that will do very well over the next 10 years?
DoorDash. I'll keep my positions out of it. I own nothing of DoorDash, but DoorDash is not just going to be food delivery in 10 years. I think they're going to solve last mile fulfillment.
Yeah.
They've hinted at it. I've said that CEO is regarded as like kind of next up.
Yeah.
Zuck put him on the board of Facebook/Meta in January. So, I mean, you're talking about he's considered one of the great founders. I think Airbnb, they had really good earnings and the stock's down 10%.
Yeah.
They had
that's fair. That's totally fair.
100 and look, I don't know software, so I can say Snowflake, but I'm just like pretending. So
you're just saying what people say.
Yeah. But like Airbnb had 102 million rooms booked in the first quarter of this year. That's a staggering number.
Yeah.
I mean, they transformed transportation or travel, like Airbnb, and especially like think about I think they're 12 years old now. Think about in the last 12 years, all those like 20 somethings who were like kind of the first movers that booked Airbnbs, they're booking it for the rest of their life.
Yeah, that's
they're not going to the what's like a mid-tier hotel,
the Hilton,
or a Holiday Inn or whatever, right? Like they're like, oh, I'd rather be at an Airbnb. We can cook our own food. We have a kitchen. We have our own space.
It's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper.
Lot cheaper.
Like I'm doing another Berkeley trip. I'm doing another Berkeley trip with my friends, and like the hotel would have cost us double what the Airbnb does.
Really?
And we got to cook our own food. Yeah.
Because you're splitting, because you can split like a house as opposed to each get a room. Is that what you're?
When you split an Airbnb between like 5 people, 6 people, like all of a sudden you're paying $200 for like a really nice place. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's I guess I didn't even think about that. I always just looked at it as a little bit of a luxury, like it's a little more expensive, but that makes sense. I mean, there's no way. Like, don't you feel like now Airbnb, like when you think about taking a trip, you think about looking at Airbnb long before you think about looking at hotel rooms?
100%. Like take high end out of it. So take the majority of customers. The majority of customers are pricing between what a mid-tier hotel is and what an Airbnb is. And they were able to grow this much. They're already at pre-pandemic levels in terms of bookings. And that's with Asia largely shut. Yeah. Like Asia travel doesn't really exist because you can't even go to China.
Yeah.
A lot of countries still have like various restrictions and quarantines, and Asia travel's not back and they're still this hot. And like 15, I think 20% of their bookings were for longer than like 20 days, or I forget the exact number, but basically it's like the work from home. They're like, oh, I can, spend 20 days in Idaho and COVID unlocked all those places as destinations people would even consider. Yeah, like, I don't think most people in San Francisco or LA would have ever gone to like some random cabin in Idaho, but now it's on the table. They're like, oh, wow, the Great Lakes, whatever. I mean, I don't know what the fuck's in Idaho, but something is there because I knew I kept hearing Idaho as a place. I said lakes that are great.
Oh, they have Great Lakes. Got it. Got it. Okay.
No, I know the Great Lakes are Michigan, Chicago,
Ohio.
Or Illinois. Yeah, Ohio.
Yep. Okay, I just want to make sure, I people confuse Ohio and Iowa a lot. I had to stick up for my home.
Idaho. Yeah, but my point is like all these random cities are now unlocked that like I don't think anyone would have ever gone to because metropolitan cities were locked down. So you couldn't go to LA, you couldn't go to New York, you couldn't go to San Francisco. So everyone just broadened their horizon and found all these different cities. And I think that's here to stay.
Yeah, I agree.
Because it's a much cheaper way to like do a quick vacation.
It's funny because this is my first recession, which I'm sure will hit. But, really since I was whatever age, 2008, 21, I think. And I realize, you realize why this is such an opportunity to make money over the long term, because everything's so cheap. But you also realize why it's so scary to do that. Because when you're in it, you don't know where the bottom is. You don't know if this is only part way down. You have no idea. Plus, it's just the general mood is very doom and gloom. And so to dump a bunch of money, Warren Buffett style in at this moment, I get why people get rewarded and why it also in the moment is hard to kind of see through the fog,
Yeah, I think, I think that's the point. The average retail trader, the average household where 20-30% swings is massively meaningful to their lives, that they don't have that long-term view. They just see it on paper and they miss out. And then the hedge funds come in and have a long-term view and they make a crap load of money.
That's what makes me feel like these hedge funds know, or they're taking the bet that this isn't the bottom. Like if that much money is coming out yesterday, it just makes me feel like the bet there is take the bump, and then we're still going down more from here. Get in then.
Yeah, it's certainly possible. And the thing is, the market could go down another 20%, or in like 3 weeks, we're like, the good times are back, and no one has the answer.
It's so true. It's so crazy.
Like we haven't seen volatility. Like now I've been an adult through 3 crashes. So I was kind of young for .com. So I was only like, 17, 18. So I really didn't understand what was going on, but I saw the news headlines. But I was fully financially literate enough to understand what was going on. And obviously March 2020, I knew what was going on. And now, and most growth tech are trading at pre-pandemic levels. And you'll hear these guys on CNBC saying like, yeah, the multiples have come down, but like, dude, these businesses are still growing. Like where else can you have a business that grows, 40 to 60% year over year at billions and billions of dollars of revenue? And there's going to be fund managers that find the gems, and they're going to make a crap load of money.
Crap load.
Because it's two things. It's two things, right? If you're bearish long term, you're basically betting against America. So if you think America's cratering as an economy, then you can have a 2-3 year bearish view. But if you're not, then you have to believe at some point things get better. And do you think this is the end of America's run as the global economic super titan when China's fully locked down? Highly unlikely, right?
Yeah.
China's fully locked down. There's a war in Russia and Ukraine. Europe has gas being turned off.
Yeah. It's funny, though, how easy it is to feel that. Like, I don't feel that way, obviously, but I know that there are a lot of people that feel bearish about America's economy as a whole right now. And it's just so easy to feel that way in these moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's easy to feel that way, but then you just step back and look what's going on in the rest of the world. Like, Poland is like worried that heaters aren't working.
Yeah.
Because they turn off Russia turns off the natural gas. China has 120 million people on lockdown.
Yeah, banging on pots and pans. I saw another video the other day. They're just like in their apartments, like beating on pots and pans, going insane.
And if you're a wealthy person in China, you cannot leave the country. They won't let you.
That's wild. That's so wild. Do you think that most of them like, no, I guess you can't even say that. That's too much of a wild guess. Never mind. What were you going to say? You were going to circle back to the labor shortage or the labor squeeze, whatever it was.
We were like talking about on the last episode, like you have 11.5 million open jobs and there's only 4.5 million people unemployed.
Yeah.
So basically like over 2 jobs per person.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is, and we've talked about this before, we've talked about it on both sides, like where the hell are people making money now? Like stock market's done. Crypto's actually held up relative to the NASDAQ, which is crazy.
That's true.
And it's held up way better than any growth stock. Growth stocks are down like 80% in the last year. Crypto has like fared much better, especially in the last 4 months. Most growth stocks are down 50%. They're down like 10%. And that's 10% after today, which was a bad day. But anyways, like, where are young people making money? And then obviously the content creation world is huge. And I just thinking like Aryan, who's our sound, who produces the podcast. How many gigs do you have?
I'm going to plug myself. I have a company called Blue Crescent Media Corporation, and I have 6 active clients right now.
Right. So he's not in the labor market. He's not considered employed. And like, so think about every YouTube, like how there's plenty of people making 70 to 100K on TikTok and YouTube, right? I know there's only a few that are making millions. Behind every person that's even making 70 to 100K, which is a lot of people, there's a video person, there's an editor, there's a sound person, So like every person what employs like 5 or 6 people that's not considered in the labor market.
But don't you think that's like an LA, New York thing? Like if you go to like Idaho or Iowa or whichever one you were just talking about, I don't think you could find a content creator that pays their bills if you had to.
Yeah, you're probably right. But what the cities we just named are the most populated places, right?
Yeah, I think it's a large number, but like I wish I understood it because I just don't. So like that number of open jobs, if you looked at that on a map, is that majorly concentrated in these same major cities where people like already exist? That could be the case. Like that could be enough to really swing it in a big way. But that number just feels so big that it feels like a countrywide problem. Like even in middle level cities, I just don't get it. I
mean, Stimmy's gone. Stock market's gone. So
Stimmy's gone, and anywhere you would have put your Stimmy essentially has stopped returning. And you're losing money now. So even if you invested your Stimmy all in Doge and crypto and whatever, you had a really good run, but now you're like, let's just say this. We love him, but let's use Pete as an example. Now, Pete has a job now and he's fine. But originally, Pete had some crypto saved up and he's like, I can risk letting go of this job for a little bit I have this to fall back on and I'll figure it out. If Pete had not gotten a job and he was just relying on that crypto is now essentially worthless.
He would be in Wisconsin wondering who Aaron Rodgers is going to throw the ball to.
Explaining to his mom what Dogecoin is. But so that's my point is like you have to then go get a job. And that's the part. I understand why the market was so fucked up, towards the end of Stimmy, but it blows my mind now. I can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah, so the other stat that people are throwing around is that there was, $450 to $500 billion that people have refinanced on their homes. So that's because home prices have gone up. So that's basically like cash that all these like people have they just, if you own $1 million house and it went up 30% during COVID, you now have like $300K more you could pull out of your house. And do you just say like, I'd rather stay home with my kids, $300K buys us time? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. It just feels like, I don't know. Because I also keep seeing articles that like people are still resigning from jobs. People are still quitting jobs. Like it's very much still headed in the direction of too many jobs and not enough people to fill them, as opposed to, I don't know, but the stuff you read isn't like, well, people are coming back. They're back in the office. You don't hear that yet.
Because Stimmy was enough to like let you do fuckery during the pandemic, but it wasn't enough to prolong you once the Stimmy's done.
No. And then you add on top of it that wherever you invested it is going down.
Yeah.
So the only thing I can imagine that makes kind of sense is that we're just at the very end of the wire. Like people have refinanced their house. They have done everything and it just hasn't flipped over yet.
Yeah. But the thing is, like the real estate people will say the supply of homes is just so low that home prices keep going up. So even though that sales of homes have gone down in the last month, because there's such limited supply, because we didn't build enough, there's too much permitting problems, that there's a supply demand issue. But I gotta imagine who would upend their life today with given market conditions, given that we are in a recession. We're going to hear it like in 2 months when we get the quarters contraction. Like there's no doubt in my mind that it's 2 quarters of contraction, that we're living in a recession currently. Who's upending their life and like, let's move to, I don't know.
Other than I know a lot of people that shockingly act very short term and like don't really pay attention to the market. Like, I've definitely had some conversations with people over the last couple of years that like just think wildly short term. Like literally, like, I don't know, I have the money in my account today, so I'm going to do it. That's, I don't know. That I don't want to call everyone stupid, but it blows my mind that I feel like most of reality has kind of caught up. Like, we were joking last year about like how literally nothing makes sense. I feel like a lot of stuff makes sense, unfortunately, right now, because a lot of it's negative. But the part that still doesn't make sense is why aren't people just flooding back into jobs? But who knows?
Yeah. Especially when, it's fascinating because there's no real answer. And I don't think anyone has an answer.
Nobody knows.
Like in Ohio, if you were to talk to like your family and friends back home, do they have the same, like, you can't hire workers at a restaurant the way people in LA do?
You know what? I need to ask. I'll ask my parents, like, because they go to like these little restaurants and stuff, like local restaurants, and they would know. Like the people would tell them if they're having trouble hiring or not. I'll ask them. I'll report back on Sunday.
That's a good data point.
Yeah, because I feel like yes, but
another good data point is Formula One's in Miami this weekend.
Yeah,
and it's basically like a boondoggle for the richest people in the world / country. Yeah. And I think the super hot stuff will still be slammed and keep their bottle minimums. I saw Carbone had like a $3,000 a plate, like kind of event or whatever. And I think a lot of that was prepaid, but you got to imagine like the people that were just kind of like trying to scrounging up enough money just to be part of the scene.
Fake it till you make it gang is tough. The really rich people are fine, but the fake it till you make it crowd, which it's probably a big portion. I think it's probably pretty
like
tough.
The person that's just trying to hang on to the table, be the +9 of the 10.
Yep. 100%. But I think this might be so soon. I feel like the feedback and the content from Formula One will just be absolutely bananas. Like, I think it's a little too quick.
Yep. And a lot of it was prepaid, right?
Yeah. I think if it was in 6 months, it'd be a totally different story.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I'm fresh off of watching Drive to Survive on Netflix, and I'm in. I'm a fan. I'm a Formula
Can't believe you're not there.
Thought about it, actually. I got invited, but I just
invited to go to the actual race, or just to
one of the platforms that we use or are considering using invited us as like hey, let's work.
That's still going on, huh? That fucker is still going on.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, I guess maybe now that I think of it, I'm not actually I'm like a Formula One fan from the couch, because the thought of like going to Miami and being like swept up in the event chaos of something that I don't actually really know much about, it wasn't enough to.
But the event chaos is just Art Basel, just with a racetrack that's on Sunday that no one's going to.
You're right.
I mean, how many people the people that will be at Hwood has like the hot event tomorrow night, Friday night.
Yeah.
I think they partner with Carbone. And how many people in that party can name one Formula One driver that's not named Lewis Hamilton?
Not named Lewis Hamilton, probably 6%.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, I think it's like literally everyone, you're just all there, especially Miami. You're like, oh yeah, Lewis. Yeah, we're team Mercedes.
They wouldn't even know he's Mercedes.
Or people have watched the show. That's true. Or people have watched the show. That's the other. I think that show has gotten a lot of American, like apparently they're adding more races, I think next year or something. I don't know. I heard that through the grapevine. I think that show has done a lot for their American fan base.
But it's like no different than when we go to Art Basel, where the Hwood clientele or person that attending, like, who's this artist? I have no fucking idea. Picasso?
No clue. It's me when I go to Super Bowl. I went to Super Bowl and didn't even, couldn't have told you who the two quarterbacks were, but had a great time.
Exactly. That's the great thing about these weekends.
You're right. You're totally right. Next thing on our list is there's this. So, Elon Musk is, he's buying Twitter, and it was whatever, $44 billion or whatever it ended up being. And so obviously, it's not, Elon Musk doesn't have $44 billion sitting in a bank account somewhere. So he had to go raise money. And what's funny is some of the articles that I saw were like, there's a group of shadow billionaires that encouraged Elon to buy Twitter and invested and whatever. And people were really kind of hyping that up. But it looks like, do we have a list of 18
Yeah, so here's some of the notable ones. He's still putting up his 21 billion or 22 billion of cash. So that's like the equity portion. And then he's obviously raising debt. So he got about 5.2 billion in equity commitments from 18 investors. And here are the notable ones. You got $1 billion from Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. He got 800 million from Sequoia Capital. 700 million from VY Capital, which is also like a pretty big, well-known growth tech fund. 500 million from the biggest crypto exchange in the world, Binance.
Interesting.
He got 400 million from Andreessen Horowitz.
Okay, that's good.
For those funds, those are large checks. Writing 400 million for Andreessen, 700 million from Sequoia. I know they're super successful and their assets under management are way bigger if you look at their marks, but like they don't have that kind of dry powder. They don't use that kind of dry powder rather on single investments.
Yeah. Also think about like how quickly, I mean, maybe he was working on this for a while behind the scenes, but like he turned this whole thing around incredibly quickly.
I highly doubt he was working on this behind the scenes.
I do too. And I don't want to believe that it was that way because I want him to be a superhero, but it seems like he just made the offer and then figured out how to raise the money and raise this much money in like a week.
Yeah, think about it. If you're Elon, I mean, I don't know how his day is structured. Like you're launching rockets, you have to deal with manufacturing issues, and then you have to jump on a Zoom with Sequoia and Andreessen Horowitz.
Yeah.
And what is he giving them? 30 minutes? He's not giving them more than 30 minutes. You in or you out? Oh yeah, I'll take your 800 million.
I mean, it has to be someone sat with him for 30 minutes, made a deck of the deal and what he's going to do, and then someone else went and just showed the deck and said, "Look, it's fucking Twitter. You know what Twitter is. It's Elon. You know who Elon is. Here's the fucking 10-page deck. You in or you out." There's just no way. Like, there's no way he's sitting on these meetings and raising this much money personally. It's fucking absurd.
So outside of like that 6-month window when Tiger Global was just writing $100 million checks in 24 hours, that was like probably a sign of the peak, right?
Yeah.
When they were just like, meet a founder, they've claimed they've done the work, and then they wire you 100 million the next day. That's what was going on.
Yeah.
Elon's the only person who could pull this off, because at this scale, to secure $5.2 billion would take 6 months at a minimum.
Yeah.
And absurd. He probably did it in 48 hours. He probably was turning down meetings. He probably was like, I've already raised, 5 or 7 billion, whatever the number is. I could get another 4, but fuck it, I'll just put it in.
Yeah. It's wild. It literally feels like how I feel splitting a Delilah dinner.
Yes.
Like, hey, D, you had 2 glasses of wine. Oh, yeah. Okay. Anand, you're good. You didn't have anything. Like it literally feels like, hey, guys, what do you want to do here? I got 20 on it.
Yeah. And it's also, if you're Elon and, he talks about we're in a simulation, why wouldn't he think we're in a simulation? He does whatever he wants. Yeah,
he is in a simulation. Like, yeah, I agree. He literally does whatever. I can't imagine what his view on the world is.
And he was at the Met Gala on Monday, right? Wasn't that Monday?
With his mom making silly faces.
And I heard he was at an event yesterday where he spoke, which is not where the Met Gala was.
He was at Dave Chappelle at the Hollywood Bowl.
So that's 3. Puffy. I just told you 3 different days in 3 different cities. 3 different days in 3 different cities.
He was at Hollywood Bowl for Dave Chappelle with Puffy, Gunna, and Elon. That was the group.
And wait, it was Gunna was with him?
Yes.
With Elon? So
Gunna,
you think they just met?
I mean, who knows? They may have been just happened to be sitting together, but I doubt it. They were all 3 front row right next to each other.
And then he tweeted in the middle of the night after the Dave Chappelle show, like he changed his Twitter icon to a Bored Ape and said, I think things are going to be fungible. And so the Bored Ape community lost it. And so he's simulating his fucking dick off, right?
He is. He literally, because like even this Twitter thing is one of those things that like kind of like, I don't know, like even if you had a lot of money, it would be really hard to pull off. Like it's not just a money thing. He's not just like so rich. Like I think that you could look at like a billionaire, let's say a guy or gal who has a few $1 billion and technically they can do whatever they want. But Elon literally does whatever he wants on such a different level. Like no matter how much money you have, you can't really just walk in and kind of like say, hey, I'm going to take Twitter now. Or, hey, I'm going to, fly a rocket to the moon. Or, hey, like he has the like brain power to actually pull off, or the team around him, or the whatever.
I don't even think he has a team. I think he's just a one-man wrecking crew.
That's what you want to think. And I do too.
But I don't know who we've never even heard of these people.
I know, but you just have to. You have to, like, to be able to fly your rockets and like your car company and have that all make sense from like a business structure, like not go out of business. You have to have really smart business people, at least like really top tier. You have to, or he's just fucking literally Superman.
I think he is doing impulse purchases. Like, some billionaire just walks into the Bentley dealership and is like, I want 3.
Yeah.
That's what he did with Twitter.
But think about the fact 45. I agree. But here's the couple things that I don't think we can take lightly is raising that much money for Twitter is very hard. If he just could put the $44 billion on the table and be done, totally get it. But raising that much money is very hard. And then also like the guy, since this whole Twitter thing came up, has been tweeting nonstop and has really been like rallying support. Like he's been calling out the censorship, and he's been like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like he's actually spending some level of time thinking about strategically what he's going to do and typing that out to the world, as opposed to like buying it like it's a new Bentley. Like it just makes no sense to me how he's able to pull it out. And then you have time to be like, oh, I'm going to stop by and check out this Dave Chappelle show.
And then you have time
into the Met Gala where everyone hates me.
And you have mind share to be like, oh, I'm going to fuck with the NFT community and talk about Bored Apes.
Yeah. How do you even get the time mentally? And even like Met Gala, what I love so much is I would probably guess that, I don't know what, 20% of the Met Gala attendees have probably either spoken privately or publicly against Elon buying Twitter. I would guess. It's a very...
I think the number's probably larger.
Okay. So and to still just be like, yeah, fuck it. I'm just going to pop in with my mom. Like it's not even like not even worth it. People are mad at me right now. Like he does not care at all. It's just, I want to go to the Met Gala.
So we know the Met Gala is like celebrity driven, but the people actually paying are business people. And they're 100% sitting there hating Elon Musk's guts because he just wakes up one day and does whatever he wants from a business side, a personal side. And I think there's got to be relationship side. There's got to be so much billionaire envy, like hate. Like, I mean, Bezos was doing it. You're talking about the second richest guy in the world was shitting, trying to shit on Elon.
Literally hating. Like hate. Like that was a hater tweet.
And then how about this? One of Twitter's biggest investors is Prince Alawid from Saudi Arabia. Mm-hmm. He's like a famous investor that during the tech boom, like took big stakes in Twitter, Facebook, a bunch of different places. And when Elon tweeted that he's buying Twitter and he's going to offer to buy Twitter before it actually happened, he tweeted like, I don't stand for this, all this shit.
I remember that,
and then Elon clapped back and said like, what's your record on journalists and their freedom? And I forget the second thing he said, but it was basically like a big fuck you to the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Yeah. Guess what? They tweeted at him today saying the Prince Alawid and effectively representing the kingdom saying like, we look forward to your leadership and we're excited to work together. So he's the U.S. government can't get Saudi Arabia to get in check. And Elon did it.
How is that possible? And he's like helping Ukraine, with his fucking Starlink. Like,
yeah.
He's also like at this level, his enemies are like governments, like killer governments.
Yes. It's not, he already lapped all the entrepreneurs, but like he's the only one that has had Saudi Arabia kind of bend the knee.
Yeah. Yeah. It's mind blowing, man. It's absolutely mind blowing. It makes no sense. I will say, if Elon was the real Iron Man, I would like to think that he would have defended the legend Dave Chappelle at the Hollywood Bowl. I think it was the same show. Who knows? Also, I'm really curious. Maybe they left by then. I'm curious if like Puffy, Gunna, like everyone's sitting up front and like you just watch Dave Chappelle 10 feet away from you get tackled. Apparently, Jamie Foxx, a jack of all trades, jumped up on the stage and went and helped beat the guy up.
Did he?
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, because
why don't you tell, for people that didn't see it, explain what happened.
So Dave Chappelle is doing a show. So there's this, I don't know, I guess you'd call it a comedy festival going on right now. Netflix is a joke festival. And they have like a festival set up in Hollywood behind the Palladium. They've been doing shows at the Forum. And then apparently Dave Chappelle, as part of that, did this massive show at Hollywood Bowl. And so I don't know if that was kind of the closeout or what, but it was this big Dave Chappelle show at the Hollywood Bowl. Hollywood Bowl is a very, incredible, legendary LA venue. So he's doing his show and it looks like he's wrapping up. I believe he's literally like kind of saying goodbye. Like he was thanking the DJ and whatever. And a guy just jumps up on stage, beeline straight to Dave, and tries to just full on like linebacker tackle him. Yep. He falls to the ground, kind of gets out of it. And then the guy just proceeds to get the absolute shit kicked out of him. But, obviously all over the news, the one thing is Dave, you lock up your phones at a Dave Chappelle show. So at first there was no real footage. Now there's some footage of it. But yeah, I mean, the guy had a knife on him.
He had a knife and they thought he had a gun, but apparently it was a replica gun.
It was a gun. I saw it. TMZ, I think, posted it. It was like a gun that looked like a gun, but a knife blade flipped out of it.
Yeah. So yeah. He got tackled like he was, running for a touchdown while he's performing stand-up comedy and just blindsided.
Like at a, like not at like, he does like little nightclubs and stuff a lot. And like, it wasn't that like you're at the Hollywood Bowl. That's wild. Yeah.
It's not like you were at a seedy nightclub and like a fight broke out.
Yeah. Like I feel like comedians are going to start needing like rapper type, like rappers you see like the security is right on the edge of the stage. And the moment someone even looks like they're taking a step on that thing, they get tackled. Like comedians are going to start needing that.
Yeah. I mean, my fear is Hollywood Bowl is as classy as a venue as there is.
Yeah.
Like you go there, you pour a couple glasses of wine, you sit there with your cheese, and you just enjoy whatever is performing.
Watch like Florence and the Machine.
Yeah. We're going in October. We actually went on Friday too.
That's a good one at Hollywood Bowl. Yeah, but it's known for that.
Yeah, you're not like getting rowdy. You may stand up for like a hot song, but like it's just a relaxed environment.
It is. But not this week.
I'm nervous that artists, venues are going to change the way we view these like performances because, I mean, how easy was that guy to get up there?
So easy. So easy. And like, no, not even like, number one, not even kind of a problem, like jumped right up there and was on stage and then got all the way to Dave, tackled him, had him on the ground before anyone could even jump. And it looked like, I don't know, I mean, I'm being super judging here or whatever, just guessing. It didn't look like it was security that like ran in. It looked like it was like the friends and whoever happened to be kind of like on the side of the stage. Like there was Dave was a sitting duck. If that guy would have actually had the knife out or like really wanted to do some real damage, he would have had plenty of time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's plenty of weapons you could sneak in through a metal detector that could cause like severe harm.
Yeah, apparently a knife gun is one of them. I mean, I don't even know how that guy, because there is metal detectors there.
But isn't that like a box cutter can get out of a metal? Isn't that how like 9/11 happened? They had box cutters and got through security.
Yeah, but I think that I don't know. That thing was pretty beefy.
Yeah,
like it was like a metal gun, like not full gun size, but like not small, with like a pretty big blade on it. It just.
And then I mean, my fear is also like you saw. It went viral, so I'm sure you saw it. Like the Timberwolves game, like from 2 weeks ago, where the protester was trying to jump, got like completely stopped by security. But like, are we going to be in a world in a few years where we're going to change the way like close viewing is for these types of events?
Yeah.
Because, you know, any basketball game you go to, I mean, that was insane. The security guard was able to stop that person.
Yeah.
But if you're fast, you can get on the court.
Yeah.
Easy.
Easy. And luckily, it looked like, if you're thinking about the same one I'm thinking about, it looked like the security guard kind of knew the girl was fishy. Mm-hmm. And so she was just kind of waiting like 2 seats down, like knowing she was about to do something. If she didn't catch that, you're on that court easy.
Yeah. You're on the court within 2 steps.
Yeah.
She was like 2 steps away from causing whatever the hell she was going to do.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's scary. Like, are we going to start seeing concerts like Coachella style where there's fences and we're like behind them like caged animals?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, I wouldn't be mad at Dave Chappelle. Like, if he was like, okay, next time I perform at Hollywood Bowl, I want a fence there.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, okay, I get that. I mean, that has to be so scary. It kind of looks like, once again, jumping to conclusions, but I noticed Dave like reacted super late. And I really think that it's because like the way the spotlight is on you, I don't think you can really see that clearly, like what's happening. It's kind of just shadows. And I mean, standing on stage and all of a sudden having some random guy jump tackle you would be so scary.
Yeah, it's traumatic. And I'm impressed he was able to start cracking jokes while the guy was getting stomped out.
Yeah. Yeah. And Chris Rock came and got his moment. I was happy for that.
Yeah, that was good. Chris Rock came on stage and said, was that Will Smith?
Yeah.
Which I loved.
That was good. You know,
it's great. And then to add insult to injury, our district attorney here in Los Angeles has said they were not doing felony charges for that guy.
Are you kidding?
So he's going to get a misdemeanor and probably no jail time, right? Misdemeanors, you don't go to jail for misdemeanors.
No. He had a fucking knife.
Yeah.
He ran at Dave Chappelle with a knife. It's so crazy. Everything
at a concert.
Crazy.
Like, you can't do that. You have to set precedent. Because now, you know you're getting out. You
Free
just
pass.
You're
get
getting
a parking ticket. Take a swing at your favorite celebrity.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not? Oh, you don't like that fucking? You don't like Russell Westbrook? Punch him. You're gonna get a $300 fine.
That's where we're headed.
Yeah.
How is this guy not getting thrown the book at him? He ran onto the stage, assaulted him with, whether it was a replica, it was definitely a knife.
Yeah.
With a deadly weapon.
Yeah. What these idiots don't see is that you're ruining the city. Like, you're ruining the Hollywood Bowl.
Yep.
By doing that. Like, you got to make a point of like, okay, I don't know. I don't agree with it, but like, yeah, maybe we're going to be a little easier on crime or whatever the fuck. But like, you can't like ruin you can't, I don't know.
Yeah. Think about any controversial figure that comes to LA knows that they might have to get ready for a fight.
Yeah. Misdemeanors. It has now been set misdemeanor for attacking anyone on stage.
And he fully tackled his ass. What if Dave Chappelle hit his head and got a concussion?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily Dave Chappelle is like a pretty buff guy these days, but like, smaller guy, you're fucked.
Yes. Like, I guess Kevin Hart's pretty fit, so he probably could have held his own. But
well, even before Chris Rock, I mean, God forbid it was Chris Rock again, back to back. But like, someone Chris Rock's size, that guy is laying him out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, okay. I guess we set precedent in Los Angeles. Will Smith walked on stage and slapped the shit out of the host, and no charges were pressed.
That's my question, and you will never know the answer. But my question is, if Will Smith didn't do that, and there was no reaction, does that guy do that to Dave Chappelle? Like, I believe that
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, I believe that there's a little bit of like, oh yeah, that's what we do. Like, you don't like it, we go up there and smack them. Oh, you know what I mean? As opposed to like, just mentally, you don't do that. You know?
Can you believe that's where we are today? If you don't like you're a big celebrity.
Take a shot at them. You get one swing. Literally, like, you're not happy with LeBron, fucking how he's been playing. Take a swing.
I mean, if you're famous, I cannot imagine how you can walk around in public without a security team.
Yeah. I mean, if I was famous and I had a show tonight at Hollywood Bowl, I'd be a little nervous. Like, I'd be looking the whole time, just making sure that no one, you know, it's like this added thing you got to worry about now.
Yeah. And the stars we're talking about, the level, have like fanatical fans that are crazy. You hear about it all the time. They get stalked and whatnot. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's scary. Okay. Let me tell you who's not worried about people running on stage or coming up to him in public because he rolls around like a fucking, like the president, is good old Drake. Drake just signed a deal with Universal Music Group. So The Weeknd just signed one of these two, and apparently Drake signed his first or whatever, it doesn't matter. But the point is, it looks like Universal Music Group is going at these like legacy artists and offering them these monster deals to, from what I can tell, just from news reports, it's sort of like, we want to own, or we want to be your partner on everything. So music, visuals, any creative projects, merch. We want to partner with you for the long term. It's similar to like how Nike looks at LeBron, right? Like, you know, Nike does these really long-term deals with LeBron, even though he's not going to be playing, but his stuff is still going to be worth a lot of money. So they did this deal with Drake, and people are just, it sounds like kind of guessing or kind of like inside reports claim, but the numbers that people are throwing around are like $400-500 million.
Yep.
For this deal. And I would guess it's probably, I don't know if they said, I would guess it's like a 10-year deal or something long-term. But Jesus, I mean, that's
the number is obviously like just a sticker shock number when you hear 400 million. But here's the difference for me with like Drake and LeBron.
Yeah.
Equally as famous, equally as like important to their industries, right?
Yeah.
For LeBron to start his own like shoe company that has distribution and manufacturing like Nike is like really freaking tough and will take billions of dollars to do.
Yeah.
So him signing like $1 billion deal, I get, like, you don't have the infrastructure to recreate the sales and distribution Nike can do and market you and put you on billboards all over the world.
Yeah.
But Drake can distribute his own music. So why is he doing this?
Well,
he produces. I mean, he has enough cash to pay for, you know, name the biggest producer and name the biggest writers and editors and sound people and studios. Like, he's not. I mean, by all accounts, he's made several hundreds of millions of dollars, right?
Yep.
And if he invested like a portion of that, couldn't he just distribute his own music?
Yeah. So I would have to think that, like, we would have to see the inner workings to really properly understand it. But I have to believe that whatever, like, just assets and help and infrastructure that someone as big as Universal Music Group is able to offer, whether it comes to like, hey, I want to do this project, just make it happen. I want to do this thing, just do it. And, you know, from what I know, Drake has a pretty small, like, inner team, you know, like Future and those people. He doesn't have this big infrastructure that he has to manage or he has to hire managers for, or any of that shit. He just has this whole infrastructure that can essentially pull off anything in the world creatively. I think that's the benefit, is he just gets, like, you have this like concierge service to execute anything that you could ever want to do from a creative perspective. And I have to believe that when you weigh that against managing and being responsible for your own people to get that done, it's just worth it to take the check up front and be able to do whatever you want.
Yeah, I hear you.
With someone like Drake. Now, if you're someone like, I don't know, fucking whoever, I don't know, small or medium level artist, I think all day, I don't know why you would necessarily do that big deal. But someone like Drake, I just think like he has the support to, like, his global tours, his like anything he could ever imagine, they can pull off for him.
Yeah. And I mean, music's also a hit driven business.
Yeah.
So this is guaranteed money if you start putting out songs that aren't working like they used to. Yeah. I mean, it's virtually impossible to recreate what he did the last 12 years, 14 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, maybe he's the one that can do it. Jay-Z couldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it would definitely be one of a kind.
Because Jay-Z became relevant as a business person, not as much for his music, right? In the last 10 years.
For sure. But yeah, that's the thing. Like you'd be able to essentially chill and now know that it doesn't, of course you want to stay relevant and put out hits and have the next 12 be like the last 12, but it doesn't really matter if you do or not.
Yeah.
There's like no stakes now, and you can literally just do whatever I mean, I would have to imagine that in these meetings, these guys are saying like, if you want to do a movie, like we'll facilitate it. Like any creative project we can make happen here at Universal. I would have to imagine it's on that level.
Yeah, you would think. And I'm sure he's obviously a creative guy, and his team's obviously executed flawlessly for the last 14 years.
Yeah.
They must have like a master plan.
Well, good for them. Good for the Owls.
Yep.
Big. I mean, it's just gnarly. I think we've seen like Jay-Z become a billionaire. We've seen that stuff. But when it comes to like the money made off of music, I mean, I don't know. This is pretty, other than like, I don't know, maybe some legendary artists like selling their catalog or something. This is like for a current act.
Yeah, especially if you look at cumulatively what he's made and then you just throw in another 400 million, it has to exceed $1 billion.
Yeah, like I feel like all said and done, Drake's work of music, his catalog will be worth like a few billion.
Yes.
When it comes to upfront, what you got on royalties, what you got, when he sells his masters, when he's fucking 60, it's wild. It's, I think that he will have to go down as the highest grossing off of music for, ever, and then for a very long time.
Yep. No, definitely.
That's great. Okay, let's wrap it up with some winners, losers content. Who do you got for winner of the week?
My winner of the week is Nas. So on Sunday night, he did a show at the Walt Disney Concert Hall.
Yep.
With the LA Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah.
And it's just so cool that, this legendary rapper who came from the streets, he did Illmatic, and merging those two worlds together.
Yep.
Like LA Philharmonic. It is my first time at the Disney Concert Hall. Have you been?
No.
It's amazing.
That's the one downtown that looks all crazy? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
It's absolutely amazing. I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sound buff, but like it sounds insane.
The acoustics.
When you're the acoustics.
Yeah.
And, to merge like Illmatic is a street record. Everything in Illmatic is the streets. Yep. It's, surviving drug infested neighborhoods. It's, people getting killed on your block and people retaliating. Like he was, telling stories about his life at the age. I still can't believe he wrote that at 17. It's absolutely insane.
It's wild. Yeah.
And to merge like LA Philharmonic, which is like, kind of old and stuffy, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And
that's
he merged those two worlds. And it's funny. My mom came over to see the kids, and we were having dinner on Saturday night. And I was telling like Amanda, my mom, like, oh, it's pretty cool. Nas is doing this show with LA Philharmonic. And she's like, I want to go.
Oh, that's amazing.
And so I wasn't even planning on going. Like, I'm spoiled. I've seen him a lot of times. It was a Sunday night. I actually saw him do this in Nashville back in September with an orchestra, a different one.
Yeah.
And I had to be the dickhead friend, the last minute Anthony text. Can you get me 2 tickets?
That's amazing. Because your mom obviously has never like
She's never been to a rap concert.
Yeah, wow. That's really cool.
And I have video of her like bobbing her head while he's doing Illmatic and the orchestra is like playing behind.
That's amazing. He's just so good at that. He really like, not only has he aged so well, like musically, but like he just really has like a niche, you know, like nobody else could really do that. Or if they did, it just wouldn't be the same. Like I don't know whether it's this blend between like high class and streets or what you would call it exactly, but he does it really, really well.
Yeah, he did a similar show in DC when Obama was president at there's some famous like venue like this in DC, and Obama showed up and to watch the show. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he's one of a kind. He's absolutely one of a kind. You know what? I'm going to give him my winner too, actually, because I was going to mention this, but similar to that kind of, so I'll give this away too. My content is Ozark. So Ozark just released the second like half of their new season or whatever. And it's really, really good. The first half was kind of crickets. But the second half is really good. And there's a whole like storyline about Illmatic.
Yeah. I saw the preview. I didn't see the show yet.
It's like this long after Illmatic came out. You're talking about Ozark, like one of the most like culturally relevant, you know, especially with young people shows. And there's this whole storyline where Ruth, one of the characters, is listening to Illmatic like throughout the whole day. And she runs into Killer Mike at a diner and she's like, oh, I'm a big fan of yours. And they have this conversation about Illmatic and talking about like, you know, whatever, I don't want to spoil it, but she makes a comment about Illmatic and about something that's so genius about it. And then Killer Mike says something back about it. And like, there's this moment on Ozark, which, like I said, is like the most relevant thing in the world, where they're discussing how brilliant Illmatic was this long later. So we'll double up on the Nas for the winner.
Yeah, and I'm gonna use content Nas as well, because we talked about Illmatic so much. I know it's an album that even at the time I was too young to process. It took me to be an adult because I was like 11 years old. Yeah. And there's a documentary called Time is Illmatic that he released in 2014. Yeah. It's been on various different streamings. I think originally it was like Showtime or something. Then it was on Netflix for a bit. Now it's on Peacock. Yeah. And it's incredible. I've watched it a few times and
I gotta watch it. I'm not sure if I've watched it.
It really shows like, I don't know how he came out of that is fucking crazy.
And to be how he is now, we're like,
yeah,
personally, he's just like the most mellow, you know, kind of like, I don't know the word, but I feel like he's almost like, he's like still like down to learn about stuff, you know, like just down to have a good time at like mellow things, you know, like it's really, really interesting.
It's crazy how well read he is.
Yeah.
Like he reads like history. Like I've been in meetings, like tech pitch meetings, and they'll bring up something and he'll be like, oh, in ancient, like this part of history, this is how, you know, I was like, what the fuck? I was like, how do you know that?
It's wild, man. He's got to write, like, I don't know. I just feel like his mentality is so valuable. Whatever it is, whatever goes on in his head, the fact that he made it from like the roughest of the rough time and group, and you know, it's not like he was like a cheese ball that just grew up by the hood. Like he was in it, you know, and to make it to this lifestyle is pretty wild.
And to like evolve, like, and Anthony obviously gets a shit ton of credit as his manager for so long, like to listen, to like be willing to learn.
Yeah.
Because if you're like he's been famous since he's 1994. Yeah. Like most people that are famous that long don't listen to anyone.
Yeah. Especially like, I don't know, like I feel like rapper fame is even a little different because like not only are you in your own world, but it's also kind of dangerous. And so like you gotta be like a little like more closed-minded almost and like closed off. But he really beat that.
And think about how many celebrities we've dealt with between all the different companies we've had.
Yeah.
Most are impossible.
Yeah.
Absolutely impossible.
I mean, TikTokers that have been famous for 2 months are impossible.
Yeah.
This guy's been famous since 94 and you can like go have a glass of wine with him. Talk about history.
It's crazy.
Okay, losers. I think my loser really is, I don't know exactly where to put it. I guess maybe us. Like, I feel like everything we just talked about, like the attacking Dave Chappelle on stage is just like, man, I don't know. Like it feels like we're sort of ruining something that's like truly enjoyable about life, like going to a show, going to a game, seeing celebrities. Like we live in LA, we're not very like celebrity, like starstruck, but there's something amazing about going to the Hollywood Bowl and seeing Dave Chappelle. And there's just something in the like, we all have an agreement here that you're safe. It's like we all have an agreement that we're all going to have a good time, whatever. And it just feels like we're fucking that up. And we're kind of ruining.
Just think about like an average night at Delilah. You'll see the most famous people in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you might see them get punched.
Or you'll just see them walled off by security guards.
Yeah. And that's the problem, is I think it just ruins, whether it means building little fences at shows, or it means just less shows, or it means that everyone's just a little bit more on edge at those shows. It's like there's so much shit going on in the world. It'd be nice if you could just go like catch a comedy show without having to worry about a crazy guy with a knife, or same at a NBA game. So yeah, I just feel like it's shitty. Hopefully we make it through this weird like angry time, where everyone's just attacking everyone. It went from like everyone attacking each other online to it feels like it's starting to really turn into like, physical attacks are okay too.
It's funny because 3 years ago we were on this pod pre-pandemic and I thought like fighting was over.
Yep. I remember having that conversation. I remember thinking I might never like see a fight again in real life.
Nice walk down the street.
Literally. Now I'm like just wondering what day this week it'll be. Who's your loser?
My loser's also us.
Yeah.
So we were promised post-vaccination roaring 20s.
Yep.
That's what I was told.
I was told it too, actually, now that I think of it.
I was told roaring 20s, everything's going to be amazing.
Yep.
Economy's going to be pumping. So if you just think back the last 5 months of 2021, we have a war on Russia and Ukraine that no one anticipated.
That we're just dumping money into, by the way.
Yeah, and that's a whole different topic. War in Russia, Ukraine. We have inflation. We have through the roof. Gas prices are insane. Families are just getting crushed. Yep. Food prices are insane. Families are getting crushed at the grocery store.
Yeah.
And now we have a stock market that is at some of its like fastest corrections in the history of like the financial markets.
Yeah.
And so think about if you're like 58 and you had $900,000 in your 401k that you spent 30 years building.
Yeah.
That 900K is worth 600K today.
Yeah.
If it was 900K in January, does not matter what you were in.
Yeah.
Bonds, fucking safe shit, risky shit, Apple, Microsoft, it doesn't matter. You probably had a wide range. That 900,000, 600,000 today.
Yeah.
And that will determine whether you retire or not. And you may have to keep working.
Yeah. It's so true. After 2 years of pandemic, after like it's just, man, it feels nuts. I'm really at like an all-time low of like paying attention to like the day-to-day news and stuff, because it's like it's just so gnarly. Like,
yeah, it's tough.
You're over here just soaking up Bloomberg.
Yeah,
shooting it into your veins.
I might as well just be banging my head against the wall.
Yeah,
it's probably more productive. Probably
well, we'll see. I mean, the other good thing is we did always talk about a couple months ago how like everything happens much quicker these days. So
yes,
hopefully just as bad, just as quick as it went. It seems to me like it was like COVID, like nobody could work, but the only thing that kept us kind of sane was the stimmy, really. Like, to me, if we would have just, I mean, I'm not saying it was right or wrong or whatever, but if we would have just let everything crash, nobody has jobs, everyone's broke, like literally devastation, that would have been pretty brutal, but we probably wouldn't have been in this same inflation problem today, right? So it's kind of like we eased off of that with the stimmy. Now we're paying the price for that. I'm just hoping that like we get a happy medium here before too long, where, okay, the inflation, that's good, that's passed. COVID has passed. There has to be like a baseline there that's like enjoyable.
And here's what I don't understand, and maybe I'm not smart enough, is when I heard Chairman Powell of the Fed talk yesterday, he talked about food prices going up and gas prices going up.
Yeah.
And like how families are getting crushed. Can he explain? We know the source of that. That's the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah.
There's no other like debate about it.
Yeah.
And you have countries still locked down. So we know the source of inflation has nothing to do with America.
Yeah.
And you raise interest rates and you're hawkish because if you raise more interest rates, you're going to get more gas from Russia?
Yeah.
Where's the disconnect?
I really, at this point, after seeing what happened during COVID, I don't feel like it's that well thought out. I feel like there's a book that says the response to inflation is raising interest rates.
Yes, exactly.
And that's just what you do. You just pull that lever.
That's your tool, but we know what the source is.
Yeah.
For the average person, forget tech stocks, forget, growth and investing. The average person, inflation's affecting them how? At the pump, at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Why is it affecting them? Because there's fucking war.
Yeah. 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 I really don't think it's, I think it's all like you pull the lever that's in the instruction manual and you try to angle it as best as you can to the people to save your seat.
If someone's smart enough to explain to me how having higher mortgage rates allows Russia to provide more gas while they're in a war, please explain it to me.
Yeah, send it over. We'll read it live on the pod. I feel like one of your friends might have a good take.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm curious too. Okay, well, look, let's keep our heads up. Things are going to get better. It's just a bit of a rough patch here, okay? And we're going to be a little bit up and down like a seesaw, and hopefully we're more up than we are down. Everyone have an incredible weekend. Yeah, we'll see you on Sunday.